Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. And if you enjoy the fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic.
What if Naruto awakened the ultimate snow fox bloodline? NaruHakuHinaTayuYugiAmaruOCchapter. Chapter 1. The newly unmasked ninja, her voice full of pain, said, I am useless as Zabuza's tool. Naruto, please, she paused to meet the blonde boy's eyes, kill me. Naruto stared at her for a moment in disbelief. How can she say that so calmly? How can she want to die? He thought as he stumbled back in surprise. Why do you hesitate? Haku demanded, taking a step forward to close the gap again. I thought you wanted to be a great ninja. Naruto shook his head. How can you say that? Do you really believe that's all there is to it? He yelled, fighting and killing until there's only one person left standing. His voice softened a bit. There's a lot more to being shinobi than that. There are more ways of showing your strength than beating someone in battle. Haku felt her lips twitch into the start of a sad smile. I've had this feeling ever since we met in the woods, that you and me are a lot alike. Maybe in another life we could have been friends, maybe even more. She paused with a sad smile. You know what it is I'm talking about. I'm only sorry that it is you that will have to stain your hands with my unworthy blood. Naruto gritted his teeth. This is the only way. Yes, Haku insisted. You've lost your dreams, and asked me to kill you. Naruto thought as he bowed his head, the both of us are caught in this, as shinobi. The weird thing is that you're right. If we'd met under different circumstances, we probably would have been friends, the blonde said out loud to receive a small nod of agreement from the girl. Pulling a kunai from the pouch on his leg, Naruto started towards the other, raising his arm as if for a single slash across the throat. Haku watched him, feeling oddly content. He will become strong. Naruto, fulfill your own dreams. Protect those that are precious to you. The blonde drew closer, intent on killing her, but his thoughts were different. You think I can kill you, Haku, but you don't understand. I won't kill you, not for that man. If I hit you with the flat of the kunai, I can knock you out. That should be enough. He began to swing his arm down. Your future is death. Haku's head snapped up as the words carried to her ears. Zabuza-sama, sorry Naruto, change of plans. Haku yelled, catching the arm and whirling the unsuspecting boy around. I'm not ready to die quite yet. She quickly began forming seals with one hand. How could I have been so foolish? How can I ask for a merciful death, when Zabuza-sama still needs me? My last breath belongs to him. There was a swirl of mist as Haku disappeared, releasing Naruto from the hold she had on his arm. Naruto stumbled and stared dumbstruck at the spot where Haku had been seconds before. Suddenly, he felt his body shudder. It felt as if all his energy had suddenly disappeared. What's happening? Naruto wondered. Whatever that was, it's used up almost all my chakra. And I still have to find Haku. To his surprise the fog was lifting. He glanced down the bridge and saw. His breath stuck in his throat. Kakashi and Zabuza were stood staring each other down. Between them stood the blood-drenched body of Haku. Kakashi-sensei's hand punched through her chest. She jumped in to save Zabuza. Naruto realized. I never realized what a useful thing I had picked up that time. Zabuza was saying, while hefting his sword back. He intends to cut through Haku and Kakashi-sensei both. Haku! Naruto screamed, watching as Zabuza's blade swept down. At the last second, Kakashi jumped out the way, taking Haku's body with him. Dropping to his knees he laid the girl out on the floor carefully. Quickly, Naruto ran over to them both and dropped to his knees beside Kakashi. The girl was spitting up blood, and there was a gaping hole right through her lung. Haku, Naruto murmured. He turned to his sensei. Kakashi had a sad look on his face. Is she going to live? Kakashi looked away from the blonde's anxious face. Stay here, Naruto. This fight is between me and Zabuza. He stood up and walked past the blonde, though a hand fell on Naruto's shoulder for a second and squeezed in what was supposed to be a comforting gesture. Naruto turned his gaze on the girl, who looked up at him with happy eyes. Naruto! Naruto! Sakura yelled, running over with Tazuna in tow. You're all right. I'm glad. Is Sasuke with you? Naruto's face dropped and he yanked his gaze away from her eager one. Naruto! He heard her whisper, as if in question, or perhaps realization. He heard her run away down the bridge. Haku looked up at the blonde, whose face was fixed on the ground. I'm sorry. Naruto turned his gaze onto the girl. Hey, you ought to be preserving your strength. Don't talk right now. He grabbed one of Haku's hands. The black-haired girl smiled, even as a sudden wailing cry rose up. It sounded as if Sakura had found Sasuke. Naruto closed his eyes for a second, trying to push back the tears. You'll see, Haku said, his voice barely a whisper. Naruto opened his eyes to look at him again. Naruto-kun, know that I died, fulfilling my purpose. It was a honor. The girl trailed off. Around Naruto things slowed to a stop. The hand he held was cold. Haku-chan, he murmured as the girl's eyes slid shut and her chest stopped rising. Haku, he yelled. Red fire flew over his hands, bathing Haku's body in its glow. Time for Naruto seemed to stop and go black. Do you want to save her, Kit? The Kyuubi asked. Naruto's vision returned and he found himself before a huge iron gate with a piece of paper holding it shut. The word seal written on it. Looking further into the cage he could see two crimson eyes. You can save her. Naruto yelled back. Heal her now. I can save her, but to do so she will have to become your mate, Kyuubi replied. Naruto listened quietly. You will also have to tear part of the seal off. Why would she have to be my mate? Naruto asked. To save her, you need to mix your chakra and blood, along with my chakra, over her wound. By doing so you two will be bonded, making you mates, replied Kyuubi in a matter-of-fact tone. So this is the only way to save her, Naruto silently thought. Yes, and remember, I can hear what you are thinking, ha ha. An amused Kyuubi laughed. Fine, I'll do it, growled the blonde. Ha ha. Fine, let's start. Cut your hand and place it on the hole in her chest. Naruto cut his hand and held it to the fatal wound. Now channel you chakra and then mine to your hand. He quickly channeled his chakra, but he was having some trouble in channeling Kyuubi's, though he was able. As the two chakras and the blood mixed with the wound, a blue light surround both the blonde and Haku. Elsewhere on the bridge, Gato appeared on the bridge with a small army of thugs with him. So, the demon of the mist is defeated. You're nothing but a little puppy devil. Luckily, I was never going to pay you. See, missing nin are much easier than shinobi from villages to hire, because after a missing nin is done, you can kill them while they're weak. I'll double the pay to the man that brings me Zabuza's head, ha ha, laughed Gato. With a quick look at each other, Zabuza and Kakashi nodded. Kakashi, I see no reason to fight you now, but I still haven't killed anything yet. Say, first one to kill as many men of Gato's wins. It's at this point everyone froze. It wasn't because of what Zabuza said, but because they can feel the chakra that was coming off of Naruto. They looked over to see the blue light spinning around Naruto and the downed form of Haku. What is this chakra? It's as powerful as the Kyuubi's, but it doesn't feel evil, the copy nin wondered silently. What is this power? Zabuza started, but before he could think farther Gato spoke again. Kill them all now, the tyrant of a businessman yelled. Kakashi and Zabuza quickly began to cut down the thugs like they were dogs. Later, at the end of the bridge, after Gato was killed, lay Zabuza with various weapons stuck into his back. Looks like I win, Kakashi. Ha ha, The ex-mist nin laughed. He stopped after a second and said in a sad, low voice, Kakashi, I want to see her. I'll take you to her. Kakashi mumbled as he took out the weapons carefully and then picked up the missing nin. He carried Zabuza over to where the bright light once was. The copy nin saw the two laying teens on the ground, Haku completely healed and a now black-haired Naruto by her side. He gently placed Zabuza on Haku's other side. What's going on here? Did Naruto heal her, and why is his hair black? More importantly, how could he heal her? He doesn't know any medical jutsu. Guess I'll have to ask him when he wakes up. Zabuza cut through his thoughts as he spoke up. Kakashi, I don't know how, but your brat healed Haku. Will you take her with you? She doesn't like to take a life. Maybe in your village she can live a normal life and be happy. He finished with a small tear running down his face. Yeah, I'll let her come if she wants. Thank you. He never finished his word, the last of his breath leaving him. I'll watch for her for you, Zabuza, but first I need to get everyone back to Tezuna's house, the one-eyed nin thought as he walked over to his other students, only to stop as he saw Sasuke lying dead on the ground. Sakura was crying on his chest. No, not again. No, I couldn't have failed again. Kakashi started forward with tears in his eyes when a dry low voice reached his ears. Sakura, get off, you're heavy, Sasuke rasped. Sasuke, you're alive, screamed Sakura as she hugged him. He yelled for her to stop. Kakashi couldn't help but give his eye smile. All of his students were alive and safe. He turned to see the townspeople gathering. A few days later, Naruto awoke to see he was in Tezuna's house. As he started to sit up, images of the other day flashed in his mind. Flashback starts. Naruto watched as the blue light covered him and Haku. A few minutes later his body started to hurt. A second after that his body felt like it was on fire. Kyuubi, what's going on? The blonde cried as he heard laughter. Well Kit, since my chakra is running wild in your body right now, I decided to do some remodeling, laughed Kyuubi. What? You baka fox, stop whatever you are doing. Naruto screamed. The laughter stopped and a low growl took its place. Listen here, you hairless ape. All I'm doing is giving you a keke genkai. I will not have my container being some weak child who can't even defend himself. Ooh, really? I'm getting something that could show Sasuke up? Asked a very hopeful Naruto. Kyuubi ignored him in favor of explaining the changes. Your keke genkai will have 3 parts: body, chakra, and sight. Now what they do is... Flashback ends. Naruto was pulled from his thoughts by a voice at the doorway. So, are you feeling better? Naruto turned to see Kakashi standing there with his eye smile. I'm fine, but what about Haku? Is she all right? Asked the slightly worried teen. Well, Haku is fine, but she is at Zabuza's grave right now, said the one-eyed nin with an eye smile. But what I would like to know is how you healed her and why is your hair long and black? Naruto shifted uneasy on what to tell him. I made a bond with her, which made us like clansmen to each other. It happened when I healed her. He decided to leave out most of his new bloodline. He would tell the old man and Haku first. He also thought it would be best to tell Haku about them being mates before he told anyone else. So then my hair turned black. He's hiding something, but he seems like himself. I'll let it slide for now. He must be very upset about seeing 2 of his friends die in front of him. Kakashi thought to himself. Then the lone-eyed Jonin spoke. You know death is a part of being a ninja, but you should be happy we all survived. I know and I am. I'm going to find Haku. Naruto replied as he got up and left the room. Kakashi sat down, wondering what he could do for his student. I know how tough it must be for him to think that he lost a teammate and then a friend, which being up another question. When did the 2 of them become friends? Zabuza's grave. Naruto walked up to the girl sitting in front of a grave. I'm sorry for Zabuza's death, he said as he sat down beside her. Haku silently nodded and they sat there for a couple minutes. Finally Haku cried out, I should have died, why didn't I die? Then she felt Naruto put her arm around and pulled her to his chest to let her cry out her frustration and pain for a few minutes. Then he whispered out, I'm sorry I didn't want you to die, Haku. I don't want to be alone, not again. You are the only one that I have found that has lived in pain for something that was out of their control. As he finished, the ice user felt a tear fall on the side of her face. As she looked up at his face, he said, I want you to come back with me. I want you to be my friend, I want you to be with me. Haku cupped his face with her smooth hands, we are alike, and we both have lived with the pain of our past. She pulled him into a hug, I would like to be with you and go back to your village with you. The two stood there enjoying the warm embrace of each other. As it started to get dark, they decided to go back to the house to eat and get some sleep. As they walked in, they heard Naruto's annoying teammate, Sakura, also known as the Banshee, scream at them, Naruto, where have you been? You just wake up and then go missing all day with her. She said, pointing at Haku with a look of disgust. Naruto got pissed at Sakura's words and retorted angrily, Sakura, do me a favor and shut up the hell up. As to where I was and who I was with, that is none of your concern, therefore I have no need to discuss anything with you. He finished and walked past a shocked Sakura. As he sat at the table, he saw Kakashi hadn't looked up from his book and Sasuke was glaring at Haku. Naruto said in an angry tone, you got a problem, Tem. I think that we should kill her, she's the enemy, replied a rather angry Sasuke. Yeah, she tried to kill Sasuke-kun, she shouldn't be here, came in his bubblegum-haired fangirl, trying to gain favor with her crush. Naruto said, excuse me, but I remembered that she didn't kill Sasuke, she put him in a false death state just like she did with Zabuza. By this point Kakashi put his book down. She stopped being the enemy when Gato tried to kill them. In the ninja world, any enemy at one moment can become an ally at the next moment. You all should remember that. He started reading his book again, giggling now and then, as always. The rest of the night went by quietly with the usual. Sasuke brooding, Sakura fawning over Sasuke, Kakashi reading his book, Naruto and Haku making small talk. After a while they all went to bed as they still had a week till the bridge would be finished. As Naruto fell to sleep, he found himself in front of Kyuubi's cage once again. Kyuubi said, well, Kit, I believe that we have something to talk about. First, you need to tell your mate about everything from my to your bloodline to her being your mate. Second, when you get back to your village don't put your mask on, you will also be a weak fool if you do. Also you need someone to teach you taijutsu, preferably something strong that cause you to break bones, and I also want you to start to work with a sword. Find a master to teach you kenjutsu, I think that old man, the Hokage, should be able to help you find one. Now leave, I'm still tired from healing your mate and replenishing your blood. You also need your sleep, so your mate can show you how to use your ice abilities. Before Naruto could reply back to the fox, he was thrown from his mindscape into a nice dream about him, Haku and Hinata going for a walk around the park. The next morning, Naruto awoke early, mumbling about Baka foxes telling him what to do in weird dreams. Why would even have a dream about Hinata? I mean, sure, she's liked me for a long time and I've grown to like her. But what would the village do if she was with me, and besides Haku is my mate, I can't have them both. I don't think either would be happy about it. As he was running through his thoughts he heard laughter in his mind. You idiot, why not take them both as your mates? You know demons take more than one mate. As for Haku not being happy about you having another, we both have seen how she looks at Tsunami, which indicates that she plays for both sides. No, I think she'll be fine with you having another mate, as long as you love her. This Hinata girl loves you and you love her. You need to grow strong to be with the ones you love. Kyuubi said, voicing his opinion. But there's no way for me to be with them both. Humans only can have one mate, and even with the villagers telling I'm a demon I'm not. Naruto retorted sadly. The fox answered, well, you were right and wrong. To my understanding of villages, people with new bloodlines can have more than one mate due to this clan restoration act. That idiot Uchiha applies to this too, since he is the last loyal Uchiha. And as for you not being a demon, well, yes and no. You aren't a demon, but you are as much a demon as a human can be, while still being human. Of course your new bloodline makes that so. Great, that will make the villagers so fucking happy. Well, at least I might be able to be with Haku and Hinata as long as they're both okay with it. Hey, wait a freaking minute, how are you talking to me? Naruto said in a sarcastic tone. Well, that piece of the seal you ripped off lets me speak to you telepathically as well as see, hear, and smell what you do, Kyuubi explained to his container. Okay, but why haven't you speaking before now, and aren't you supposed to be the demon that wants to kill everything in sight? So why are you helping me? Naruto asked curiously. I haven't spoken before now because I was tired. Do you know how much energy it takes to heal someone near death and make a Kekkei Genkai at the same time? And no, I'm not evil or won't kill everything that opposes me. Kyuubi replied. Naruto could feel the sad smile on the fox's face. No, at one point in time, I was the guardian of Fire Country, but that hubby Tem put a very powerful genjutsu on me. It put me into a feral rage and I attacked your village, but thankfully your Hokage sealed me away before I can do any more damage. As to why I'm helping you, well, I'm sorry for making your life so bad. So the bloodline and healing your mate was my way of saying I'm sorry. Thank you, but I'll find that hubby Tem and make him pay for disturbing our lives. He was cut from his conversation by a soft voice. You know, breakfast is waiting for you downstairs. Naruto turned to see Haku in the doorway, smiling at him. I will be down in a minute, Naruto said, returning the smile with one of his own. After a few minutes, Naruto walked downstairs and sat down at the table with everyone eating their food. All right, team, we still have a week till the bridge is finished. Sasuke, you'll be coming with me to the bridge. Sakura, you will be watching over the house. Naruto, you are free whatever you want for the day, and Haku, since you aren't part of my team, you can do whatever you want. Kakashi told them. Sasuke answered, HN. Sakura was upset she wasn't going to be with her Sasuke. Naruto thought it was a perfect time to talk with Haku and maybe get her help working with his new ice ability. Alright, I'm going to go and train. Haku-chan, do you want to come? Naruto asked a blushing Haku. Why yes Naruto-kun. Naruto just looked at her, wondering why she was stuttering. Tsunami said in a soft voice, maybe you should stay here today. Naruto turned his head to see a blushing Tsunami. He also saw a blushing Sakura look at him only to have her look at the ground when he looked at her. He started to hear Kyuubi laughing. Kyuubi, what did you just do? Ha ha, Kit, sorry Kit, ha ha, but it looks like, ha ha. It looks like I gave you a more, ha ha. A more primal aura that is making the females woozy and acting fangirlish. Ha ha. But don't worry, Haku will not be affected as she is your mate. She was probably thrown off by you calling her Haku-chan. The fox said as he was literally rolling around in his cage. Oh, great, just great, this is all I need right now. Naruto thought with a groan. No thanks, I really need to train. So I'll be leaving now. Bye. The Jinchuriki finished quickly as he grabbed Haku's hand and ran out the door before Tsunami could say anything else. In the forest, Naruto and Haku had just made it to the forest. Now they were looking for a clearing to train in. Naruto decided to speak up. Haku, I need to talk to you about something. Naruto went on to tell her about everything about the Kyuubi, how he saved her, his new bloodline, and finally her being his mate. Haku stood there, listening to everything intently, and she was a little surprised that by saving her life, she had become his mate, as he called it. But all in all, she was happy that he told her all of this. She wasn't too upset about being his mate. She had to admit that he was cute and she did like him, but she would have liked to know him better. She actually found herself hugging him tightly after he finished explaining everything to her. Well, that a relief. She doesn't seem mad. Naruto thought in relief. See, I told you, Kit, she's fine with it. But you didn't tell her about Hinata. Of course, that was probably wise. Too much information could be bad right now. You will need to tell her before you get back to the village. Kyuubi said in a told-you-so voice. Yeah, I know, but not now. I think I need to get to training. Naruto replied back to the fox. He turned to his mate and said, Hey, Haku-chan, I think we should get to training. Maybe you can show me how to use ice jutsus. Yeah, sure, Haku said with a nod. She started to show him how to perform Hyoten Jutsu, but he was having trouble using the right amount of chakra. So to help him with his chakra control, she taught him the water walking chakra exercise. It took the rest of the day for him to get it down, and by the time he fully got it down, it was time to head back to the house. Back at Tazuna's house, when they got back, everyone was set at the table about to eat. They sat down quietly and most of the dinner went by quietly, with Tsunami and Sakura looking at Naruto once in a while and having light blushes on their faces. Haku was glaring at Sakura angrily for looking at her Naruto like that. Naruto decided to break the silence. Anyo. Kakashi-sensei. We don't have anything really to do we? Well, not really. We know the bridge will be done in 5 or 6 days. Why do you ask? The Jonin asked as he let his eye train fully on his student. Well, I was planning on training for the rest of the week and maybe stay in the forest till we leave for Konoha, replied Naruto. I have no problem with you training the rest of the time, but I don't think staying in the forest is a good idea. Kakashi said. It will help with survival training, having to find food and shelter. Naruto said, thinking quickly to get the private training trip. All right, but I want you back the night before we leave. Kakashi said, agreeing with the logic that Naruto shot out. Sasuke was seething in anger at the fact that the Dobi was going to train the whole time while he forced to stay here and watch the bridge. But then he thought, with the Dobi not being here, he could get Kakashi to teach him a couple new jutsus. The rest of the dinner went rather quietly, well besides Sakura yelling at Kakashi about Naruto getting to train while Sasuke had to stay, but she was silenced by a glare from Sasuke, him not wanting her to blow his chance to get stronger. When dinner was done, Naruto and Haku packed their supplies, said goodbyes to everyone and headed out into the forest to return in 1 week. On the newly finished bridge, the rest of Team 7 was waiting on their last teammate. The pink-haired one named Sakura was standing there with her foot tapping against the floor. Sensei, Naruto's late. Could something have happened to him while he was training? She asked her sensei. Kakashi said, No, I don't think so. Sakura, isn't that right, Naruto? Sasuke and Sakura turned around to see Naruto. His attire was completely black with a muscle shirt, pants and black bandages wrapped around his ankles much like Kakashi's. His hair grew a bit longer and he had it wrapped at his back of his neck in a small ponytail, and on his back were 2 nodashis. One was fitting in a black sheath and the other on was white. Sasuke thought, just how strong has he gotten in a week? This is unreal. Sakura was in shock as she thought, is that and Naruto? He looks so. Inner Sakura interrupted. Hot, gorgeous, handsome. I can continue if you want to. Sakura said, arguing with her other self, shut up, I love Sasuke-kun, not Naruto. Inner Sakura said, my vessel is so stupid, the boy practically adored back then, instead she goes after the emo bastard that wants to avenge his clan. Sometimes I wish that I can escape from her with a body. Wink wink. Naruto rubbed the back of his head, sorry that we're late, we were paying our respects to Zabuza one last time and it was a long way from Gato's old hideout. Kakashi said, then you must be the ones who took Zabuza's Kubikiri Bocho and it explains the new clothes. Where is it? Naruto said, on my back, sensei. You see, the 7 shinobi swordsmen of the mist have sentient swords that choose their next successor. Kubikiri Bocho is Zabuza's sword and it changes to fit the successor. The white one is Oathkeeper and the black one is called Oblivion. Shout out to Kingdom Hearts, people. I don't own. Sasuke eyed the sword, do you even know how to use those? Naruto slipped his hand from his head to Oblivion's hilt, care to test me, Uchiha? Kakashi diffused the situation, enough, you two. Let's go. A cry went out, wait. Kakashi groaned inwardly, this was the reason I wanted to leave in the first place. The team along with Haku turned to see the whole population of Wave with Tazuna and his family in the front. You were going to leave before we could say goodbye, weren't you? Tsunami said accusingly. Kakashi said, no, why would you think? Naruto said, Sensei, your face says it all. Kakashi rubbed the back of his head sheepishly as Inari went and hugged Naruto, will you come back soon? Naruto gave him a smile. A real smile, Inari, that is a promise in a lifetime, I will definitely come back soon to Wave to visit. Remember to always protect your family no matter what. Inari nodded and stepped back with Tazuna and his mother. Tsunami said, thank you, everyone, Naruto-san, Kakashi-san, Sakura-san, Sasuke-san. She went and gave them all a hug, well, except Kakashi for 2 reasons. 1. He was reading his book and 2. She knew about Ika Paradise. Tazuna nodded to each of them and the team along with Haku ran off on the bridge, waving to them, not knowing that the bridge was christened as the Great Naruto Bridge and a plaque was dedicated to the members of Team 7. They ran off to Konoha by jumping into the trees and Sasuke asked, so, Dobi, what kind of training did you do? Naruto answered, why are you so curious, Sasuke? You never bothered with me before or my training before. Sasuke dismissed the question, just tell me what you did. Naruto said, I went through physical conditioning, you know, push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, etc. Then I sparred with Haku-chan, trying to work on my timing with Kage Bunshin, and that is all. Kakashi thought, he is hiding something from Sasuke. It is better if he doesn't tell Sasuke since he still has that superiority complex stuck in his head. I will have to ask him to stay when we report to the Hokage. After a few more hours, they approached the gate and 2 guards, the Chunin Izumo and Katetsu. Katetsu cried out, state your name and business. Kakashi said lazily, Kakashi Hatake returning with Team 7, consisting with Naruto Uzumaki, Sakura Haruno and Sasuke Uchiha. Izumo said, where is Naruto? Kakashi inclined his head to the black-haired boy to the left of him with Haku close to him. Who is the chick? Katetsu said with his eyebrow raised. The Jonin replied, she wants to join the ranks and we are escorting her to the Hokage. The 2 Chunins nodded and signaled the gatekeeper to open the gates. The gates opened slowly and Team 7 along with Haku walked through, straight to the Hokage Tower. Meanwhile as they walked through the courtyard, Naruto was getting looks that he was not used to, mostly for women who blushed and some of them smiled and waved at him. Naruto inwardly smiled that the villagers didn't recognize him at all, but he knew that soon they will discover his identity again. So until that time, he was enjoying the looks to the fullest. Soon they reached the Hokage tower to find Sarutobi at his desk working. When he looked up, he saw Team 7 and his eyes widened at the sight of Naruto. "Naruto," Sarutobi said. Naruto said with a foxy smile, "What's up, Hokage Jii?" The Hokage said, "I see that you all have returned safely, and who is this girl?" Kakashi said, "Hokage-sama, on our mission, it appears that the client lied about it. Apparently the client was targeted by Gato, who hired and sent ninjas to assassinate him. We continued on and met Zabuza Momochi, hired by Gato also. We defeated him for the first time, and this girl, Haku, posing as a hunter nin who was once under Zabuza, took him to heal his wounds. After a week, we met and clashed against each other. Sasuke was at first thought dead, but Haku put him in a false death state just like Zabuza. Needless to say, Zabuza and I destroyed Gato's hired thugs, and Zabuza was the one who killed Gato at the cost of his life." The old man stroked his beard and said, "All right then, Haku, you will be able to join Konoha's ranks, and as common procedure, you will be placed on probation for a month since you were Zabuza's apprentice. What profession would you like to pursue?" Haku answered, "I would like to become a combat medic, Hokage-sama. So you will be receiving training in the hospital and I will be giving you a plaque." Naruto said, interrupting the Hokage, "Excuse me, Hokage Jii, but Haku will be staying with me." Sarutobi said, "Fine, less paperwork for me. Now Sasuke, Sakura, you are dismissed for today, and Haku, can you step in the hallway to wait for Naruto?" The three bowed and went out the door. Sarutobi placed a sound silencing seal on the wall and said, "I am guessing that there is something more that concerns your change, Naruto. Explain from the start." Naruto began, "Well, after I took care of Gato's cronies from taking Tsunami and Inari, I went to the bridge to find Sasuke trapped in Haku's ice dome and Kakashi-sensei fighting against Zabuza. I went inside the dome to help Sasuke and tried to get him out by using shadow clones to distract Haku, so I can attack from the outside while he attacks from the inside. Haku was able to destroy them quickly and attack us using her speed. We tried this maneuver twice and Sasuke was able to unlock his Sharingan to see her movements, but I was knocked down. When I opened my eyes, I saw Sasuke standing in front of me with Senbon needles stuck all over his body. I thought he had died and I got angry at Haku for taking him away. Due to my anger, I was able to unleash the Kyuubi chakra and defeated Haku. She wanted me to kill her, so I was going to run and try to knock her out, but then she realized that Zabuza was in trouble, so she grabbed my arm and shunshin to Zabuza's location. I ran after her. When I reached there, I saw that Kakashi's arm was punched straight through her chest and was on the verge of dying. I wanted to save her, because she was a lot similar to me. So the Kyuubi was able to tell me what to do to save her." Sarutobi said, "What, you talked to the Kyuubi?" Naruto said, "Relax, Oji-san, the fox didn't do anything at all, well, except gave me a Kekkei Genkai." Kakashi and Sarutobi both shouted, "What?" Naruto said, "Let me finish please. The Kyuubi told me to mix my blood and chakra along with some of his own and pressed into her wound, which is why my hair turned black. The only drawback is that Haku-chan and I are mates, in short, husband and wife in human terms." Kakashi said, "Naruto, why would you trust the Kyuubi? He tried to destroy the entire village." Naruto said, "Because it was not the Kyuubi's fault, apparently he was under some kind of genjutsu. The last thing he remembers is that the one who did it smelled like snakes and had pale yellow slitted eyes." Both the Hokage and Kakashi immediately knew who was the one who caused all of this pain in Konoha. Orochimaru, the former student of Hiruzen Sarutobi, the Snake Sannin, former teammate of Jiraiya and Tsunade, an AS-rank criminal for experimenting on fellow ninjas. Sarutobi said, "So what is your bloodline, Naruto?" Naruto explained, "From Kyuubi's description, It has 3 parts. My bloodline affects the body, chakra and eyes. My body is much like a Han-yu. I have enhanced senses, organs, bones, muscles, chakra network, etc. I have more flexibility, a higher healing rate and pain tolerance. Now the Kyuubi made a secondary system that can channel his chakra without damaging my body, only reducing to a minimum, and it is immune to tampering. My chakra imprinted on Haku's, making me able to use the Hyoten in my last part. My eyes allow me to see through Genjutsu, which has been my weakest point, and able to track an opponent's movements. I am able to detect my opponent's next move from the slightest tension from their bodies and can move in the exact spot where they were at. The Hokage and Kakashi were in awe and shock. The Kyuubi made his container a practical bloodline gold mine. Now I also have 3 abilities. The first is that I give off a primal aura that makes the women act fangirlish and attracted to me. Kakashi and the Hokage both began to think perverted thoughts, and Naruto noticed those looks. You two are so lucky that I have to explain this, or I would use Warok no Jutsu on you too. Anyway, the second ability is to talk to foxes, and the last ability is to control and suppress other demons, but I can only suppress Biju. The boys said. The Hokage and Kakashi were simply miffed by this. No one has ever shown the ability to suppress and control demons since Madara Uchiha and the Shadaime's reign. The old man regained his composure and asked, "This is all wonderful, but what did the Kyuubi ask in return?" Naruto said, "Nothing, nothing at all. All he wants is that I kick ass because he doesn't want a weak jailer at all. He is still trapped, but he sees, hears and smells everything that I do." The Hokage said, "Very well, you are dismissed. You better take Haku home before it gets late." Naruto nodded and went out to meet Haku to escort her to his apartment, while Kakashi asked, "Is it like the first's bloodline?" Sarutobi replied, "Probably, due to who his father is, but I didn't think that the Kyuubi would be able to replicate it at all since it is dormant for some reason, but it is a wonder that the fox would do all of this to help Naruto." Kakashi said, "Maybe because of his pride. He is the most powerful of the Biju, and if Naruto is his container, it is logical that he should be the most powerful of the Jinchurikis." Naruto and Haku, "Tomorrow, Haku-chan, I will give you a tour around Konoha. But for now," Naruto said as he made 15 cage buncheons. "Okay. You get me some clothes before the villagers realize that it is me. You resupply my weapons and get me 2 wooden swords. You get us some food other than ramen. You go to the library and look up some wind and water jutsu along with a kenjutsu style. The rest can go to the apartment to accommodate Haku." Naruto said. The clones nodded and sprang into action. Naruto turned to Haku and said, "Well, then shall we go, Korihime?" Haku blushed scarlet red and stuttered, "Hi." Naruto smiled and offered the crook of his arm, which she gingerly took it and placed her arm inside of the crook. The two walked toward the apartment while Naruto kept her occupied by telling her stories of his greatest pranks. Haku giggled as she imagined the pranks that he had done over the years of his academy days. When they finally reached his apartment, Naruto noticed that Haku was a little reluctant to let go of his arm and inwardly smiled at the affection that Haku actually liked him a bit. He opened the door and allowed Haku to walk in. The apartment was a bit small, but cozy with a warm feeling to it. Naruto showed Haku to her room and gave her the privacy that she would need. Soon the clones came back with the necessities, and the one with the weapons brought the quality-grade weapons, but what caught Naruto's eye was the black trench knives that the clone felt compelled to buy. The clone in charge of the food bought vegetables, steak and white sticky rice. Haku and Naruto ate together at the table this time. Haku told Naruto about her travels with Zabuza over their dinner. Soon as they were finished, Naruto inspected the library jutsu and kenjutsu style. The kenjutsu style was called Tukatsu Ryu, translation, Frozen Dragon style. His clothes consisted of an assortment of dark blue, reds and black. Soon Naruto went to bed and fell asleep with Kyuubi talking to him. Kyuubi said, "Tomorrow, you need to work on your speed with your kenjutsu. Though your technique is good with the silent homicide style, you need to get some weights and fix up your taijutsu." Naruto replied, "Got it, Kyuubi. I will need to find a taijutsu scroll that fits me the best. I think I will ask Hokage Oji-san tomorrow, and I got to work on my new jutsu too." Kyuubi said, "Get to sleep, Kit, you have a big day ahead of you." Naruto mentally nodded and went to sleep. The next morning, Naruto woke up and walked into the bathroom, still rubbing his eyes. When he looked up, he saw Haku, who was topless at the moment. The boy blinked once, twice, 3 times and did the most logical thing that all naive boys do when it comes to the opposite sex: he fainted. Naruto woke up after a few minutes with Haku peering into his face. The Jinchuriki smiled at her and slowly the memories returned back to his mind. His face paled and he backed away while bowing low. "Gomen Nasai, please don't think that I am a pervert, Haku-chan." Haku held her hand to her mouth as she giggled softly. "It is okay, Naruto-kun. I know that you didn't mean it at all. You are just not used to live with others still, and since we are technically married, it shouldn't be a problem between us." Naruto had a light blush as Kyuubi chuckled at Naruto's predicament. "Ha ha 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 ha. Kit, you and this girl are going to be some good entertainment for me. By the way, tell her that she got nice breasts, 32C, and she is still growing a bit." Naruto said, "Shut up, Ero Kitsune, I am not a pervert. I don't know about Haku-chan's breast size, plus we aren't even married." Kyuubi retorted, "Hello, the girl just said that you are technically married since you were mates. Plus you are a fucking ninja, which means that you are an adult. In conclusion, it means that you are able to enjoy the finer things in life such as alcohol and sex since you are able to kill. In terms, you are old enough to kill, you are old enough to drink and fuck like rabbits in heat." Naruto blushed a bit more as Kyuubi continued, "Besides, your connection as mates is much deeper than your typical commitment. As mates, you are able to feel everything she feels emotionally, know her location, everything. It also means that if someone wants to date Haku, she wouldn't be attracted to that person and rejects that person, which gives you all the more reason to tell Haku about Hinata. If you imprint on Hinata as a potential mate, then Haku will do the same as well." Naruto replied, "I think that it is too soon. I will tell her when the time is right." Naruto cut the mental conversation as he heard Haku calling his name. She had a worried look on her face and Naruto smiled at her to reassure her feelings that he was okay and she didn't offend him in any way. Haku smiled softly in return and got up. "While you were knocked out, I took the liberty of making breakfast for the both of us." Naruto said, "Thanks. After this, we will go and tour Konoha, but I need to make a pit stop at the Hokage Tower to ask him about some taijutsu scrolls that I can learn." Haku nodded. "That is fine, Naruto-kun. We can kill 2 birds with 1 stone since I need to see the Hokage about the hospital job." The two walked to the table to find hotcakes, eggs and sausage links on their plates. Naruto said, "Wow, Haku-chan, this is amazing." Haku blushed at his praise. It's not much, and Naruto-kun." The Jinchuriki turned to her. "Are you crazy? I can never make eggs like this, I usually burn them." Haku's blush deepened as the couple sat at the table and ate their breakfast. After they ate and Naruto got dressed, they strode over to the Hokage Tower. Naruto listened to the gossip of the demon finally died on a mission and shook his head at the villagers' stupidity. He still had his whisker marks and blue eyes, but they couldn't recognize him because he had long black hair, a bit taller and had lost his baby fat only to be replaced with muscle. HMPH, and they call me dead last. Naruto thought to himself. They approached the secretary, who ushered them inside to see the Hokage. "Naruto, what can I do for you?" asked the Hokage. Naruto said, I would like to know if there are any taijutsu scrolls that I can borrow, so I can learn since mine is a little sloppy. The Hokage stroked his beard and said, I think I might have one. The old man thought, I will give him his mother's taijutsu style, after all, it is rightfully his and I have a feeling that something will happen to it. The Hokage approached his library and pulled out a red scroll. I think that this style will suit you well, Naruto. It is called the Raging Torrent style, made by one of our finest ninja here in Konoha. Naruto thanked him and Haku said, Hokage-sama, I would like to know when does my shift starts at the hospital. The Hokage said, let me check my records, Haku-san. Let's see, yes, you will start tomorrow at 8 in the morning and end at 4 in the afternoon. Haku bowed, thank you, sir. The two walked out, leaving Sarutobi to glare at the pile of paperwork. I hate you so much. I will find your weakness, you son of a bitch. The old man thought at his most powerful adversary. Naruto and Haku the couple walked around the courtyard, showing her everything in the village. They first stopped by Ichiraku Ramen, where Tsuki and Ayame greeted them immensely despite that they didn't recognize Naruto at first with his long, black hair. Next, they went to the various training grounds and stores. After that, the last place that Naruto was taking her to happened to be his favorite spot. Haku-chan, hold tight, okay. Naruto said. Haku nodded and held him closer to her as he Shunshin along with her for the ride. Minutes later, she looked to see that they were on top of the Hokage monument, ironically on the fourth Hokage's head. Then she turned around to see the reason why that this spot was Naruto's favorite. You could see that the whole village was silhouetted by the sunset, making it have a soft glow radiate off of it. It's beautiful, Haku whispered. Naruto replied, yes, it is, but I know something that pales in comparison. Haku asked, what? Naruto looked at her and said, you. Haku began to blush a scarlet red as she looked at Naruto's serious expression. They sat on the Yondaime's head, watching as the sun sets downwards until night. Naruto looked down to see Haku sleeping soundly on his chest. He moved a strand of hair from her beautiful face. She looked so peaceful when she is sleeping. I better get her home now, he thought to himself. He shunshined back to his apartment and went to bed in his current state, feeling too tired to get Haku and himself up to move into his pajamas. Plus Haku was latched on tight to his persona and he didn't have the heart to wake her up. Naruto laid himself on his back with Haku lying on his chest and went to sleep. Next morning, Naruto woke up early to train himself in his taijutsu with the Raging Torrent style at 6 in the morning after leaving a note for Haku to know where he was, and then he proceeded to have Kage Bunshin brush up on the Silent Homicide style while he himself studied the Tukatsu Ryu style. Then he would do some physical conditioning with some weights strapped to his arms and legs along with some meditation, and after that, he would practice his chakra control by walking on water like he saw this one girl with her hair wrapped in buns did. He figured out that it was not easy to do, but more challenging than the tree climbing exercise that he did with Kakashi-sensei. After his early morning training, he would arrive at 11 o'clock for his missions with Sasuke and Sakura, who would usually yell at him for being late, but Naruto didn't care about her opinion. This was his routine for 3 months, and over the time period, Naruto and Haku had gotten closer than ever by talking or going on dates. Naruto's hair grew and his ponytail ended at the middle of his back. A few strands of hair hung over his hitai and his face grew sharper, making his life difficult with women blushing and winking at him. Haku grew over the months too, feminine-wise. As Kyuubi predicted, she grew to a certain extent along with her medical training. She learned that she could use the chakra scalpel jutsu in her Senbon to cut off her opponent's internal systems without having to come up and personal. She changed from her mist attire to wear a navy blue mandarin collar shirt and standard Jonin pants with white tape around her ankles. She learned swordsmanship also and used the Tukatsu Ryu style as well. She named her katana Shirosuke, translation, White Moon. Naruto woke up with Haku lying on his chest. Ever since that day, Haku had gotten pretty comfortable with using his chest as a pillow. He smiled at her and made a kage bunshin and substitutes himself with it. Then he went out to do his morning workout and meditation, and then he met his team. He saw Sakura in front of two Suna genin. One of them was holding his friend and declared rival, Konohamaru Sarutobi, very tightly. The Jinchuriki moved quickly with Oathkeeper and Oblivion to aim at the boy's neck and arm, holding Konohamaru. I suggest that you let my friend go now like a good little kitty, or else I take your arm and your life at the same time. The boy didn't believe him at first until Naruto jabbed lightly with Oblivion at his neck, causing a bead of blood was releasing from the broken skin, and released his killing intent to prove his point. His killing intent? He is really serious about killing me, the boy thought. He gently set Konohamaru down to the ground and the boy ran to his friends, Moegi and Udon, while Naruto sheathed Oblivion and Oathkeeper while he shunshin beside the kids. The boy growled and took out the bandaged bundle on his back, and the girl said, "Konkuro, don't." The boy known as Konkuro glared at the blonde girl and said, "Shut up, Temari, this kid needs to learn to respect his elders." Naruto raised his eyebrow, this coming from a boy who plays dress up as a cat and wears his sister's makeup. "It seems that I am the elder in this one, kid. Plus I really don't think you would do that considering your teammate beside Sasuke is practically glaring at you." Konkuro stiffened and everyone turned slightly to see a red-haired ninja with green eyes and a gourd strapped to his back. Sasuke was surprised at Naruto's perception since he never sensed the redhead at all. The boy Suna shunshin downwards to his teammates, "Konkuro, put that thing away. You are embarrassing us since we are representing Suna." Konkuro said, "But," the redhead glared at him, "do it or I will kill you, Konkuro." Konkuro immediately shut up and put the bundle on his back. "Come on, we are leaving, you two." Sakura said, "Wait a minute, you three are from the village hidden in the sand. Why are you here?" The blonde girl turned to her, "Are you serious? We are here for the Chunin exams. Where the hell have you been at?" Sasuke said, What is your name?" The girl pointed at herself, "Who? Me?" Sasuke replied rudely, "No, the redhead." The boy replied, "My name is Sabaku no Gaara." "Yours?" Sasuke said, "Sasuke Uchiha." Gaara turned to Naruto and said, "And what is your name?" Naruto said, "Naruto Uzumaki, and may I ask for yours, miss?" The blonde girl said with a blush, "My name is Sabaku no Temari." Naruto said, "That is a nice name for a beautiful lady. I look forward to seeing you again, Temari-san." Temari had a light blush on her face, which enabled Konkuro teasing material for him to use against her. Gaara said, "Come on, Temari, Konkuro." Then the boy thought to himself, "Interesting, mother wants the Uchiha's blood, but what is it about Uzumaki that intrigued me so much and makes me fear his power at the same time? I guess I will have to wait until the exams. I hate waiting." Naruto turned to Konohamaru, "Are you okay, Konohamaru?" Konohamaru said, "I am okay, Naruto-ni-san." "That was so cool. Where did you get those swords at?" Naruto said with a soft smile, "Let's just say a great person entrusted them to me. Now run along and try not to bump into anyone on the way either." Moegi said, "Can't you play with us?" Naruto thought about it for a minute and said, "Why not? I got time to kill." Sakura said, "Naruto, we have a team meeting today." The Jinchuriki replied, "So? Sensei is usually 2 hours late anyway." Sakura retorted, "But he might show up on time this time." Naruto replied coolly, "You said that 3 months ago, now if he just so happens to show up early, tell him that I thought he was going to be late like always." Naruto ran off with Konohamaru. Moegi and Udon, leaving Sasuke and Sakura to go to the meeting place on the bridge. 2 hours later, Naruto showed up on the bridge with Sakura and Sasuke. Sakura growled out, "Don't say a word." Naruto smirked at her while Kakashi showed up, crouching on the railing of the bridge. "Yo," the Jonin said. Sakura shrieked, "You're late." Kakashi said, "Sorry, I was helping an old lady across the street like the gentleman I am." Sakura shouted, "Stop lying." Kakashi said, ignoring Sakura's outburst, "Now, I have an announcement. I will be entering you 3 in the Chunin exams, which will be held in 2 days' time." He looked at Sasuke's look of anticipation, Sakura's look of indecisiveness and Naruto's look of impassiveness. The exams are completely individual choice, so if you don't want to go to the exams, you don't have to do it at all. The exam will be held at room 301 at the Ninja Academy. You are free of all duties until the exams start. Kakashi shunshin away as did Naruto. Sasuke was seething that Naruto knew the Shunshin no Jutsu before he did, and Sakura ran after him to ask him for a date, again, only to get rejected, again. Naruto the Kyuubi said, "The Chunin exams, That means that there will be strong genin there, including experienced ones as well." Naruto replied, "Yeah, I will have to train harder to be ready for the exams." Kyuubi said, "That Gaara kid, I felt something familiar from him. I sensed demonic power from him. I think you should concentrate some of your training in controlling my Yuki chakra, so you can get used to it and activate instantly." Naruto said, "That is a good suggestion. I have a feeling that I am going to need it most likely." Naruto ended the conservation to walk inside his apartment to find Haku inside. "Oh, hi, Naruto-kun," Haku said with a smile. "Haku-chan, I thought you were at the hospital," Naruto said. The Hyoten user replied, "They gave me leave since they have to prepare for something called the Chunin exams, so I am off for 2 days." Naruto said, "So you too, huh?" Haku said, "Are you in the exams?" The Jinchuriki replied, "I am thinking of going in the exams. I would like to test my progress to see if I am stronger than I was when I was back in Wave." Haku smiled, putting a hand over Naruto. "I think you are stronger than before, Naruto-kun. If you need the exams to convince yourself, then I think you should go. Just be careful, some of the genin are taught to kill their enemies without any hesitation." Naruto smiled, "Thanks, Haku-chan. I will be careful." He gave her a kiss on the cheek, making her blush red and hold her cheek in a daze. Kyuubi thought as he chuckled, "He has a way with words and actions. This kid is going to be a lady killer if he keeps this up." Over the 2 days, Naruto sparred with Haku and learned to control Kyuubi's chakra. He was able to control up to 2 tails only with his Yuki. After that, he felt that he would lose control if he tried to get the 3rd tail to activate, but he knew that he shouldn't need it at all due to Kyuubi's reassurance of Gaara's demonic level. He wouldn't need the Demon Fox's cloak at all, but the Jinchuriki was cautious about it. The number 1 of all ninja to survive was to never underestimate your opponent, which is why Naruto always lived. He got up and checked his inventory to seal his wooden swords, his trench knives, some of his kunai and shuriken along with the first aid kit that Haku made for him. He strapped on his 2 kunai holsters and told Haku goodbye, who gave him a kiss on the cheek for good luck. They were both blushing as Naruto walked out the door with Kyuubi in his head laughing at the two's reactions. He wore black fingerless gloves, brown boots that cover up his ankles, black baggy pants that gave up a slight bulge at the end since they were fitted inside the boots, and an indigo-collared custom-made muscle shirt. Picture Virgil from Devil May Cry without his coat if I didn't describe it enough. If you had direct chakra to travel into it, it was capable of deflecting thrown kunai, and etched on the back was the kanji for honor and ice. The Jinchuriki met up with Sasuke and Sakura to his surprise, waiting for him. The three of them went inside the ninja academy to see that they were a lot of people on the second floor. Team 7 rushed over to see that there were two genin that were up in front, blocking the door to room 301. Naruto looked at the two and recognized them as the Chunin guards. They must be the ones who are trying to weed out the weaklings for the competition, thought the Jinchuriki. Before Naruto could tell anybody about the disguise, the ever-arrogant Uchiha said, "Yo, release the genjutsu on the sign, I got business on the third floor." The disguised Katetsu attacked Sasuke and the Uchiha relented by sending a kick of his own, but a bowl-haired kid came in the nexus of their kicks and stopped it. Then a bun-haired girl dressed in a pink Chinese-style shirt and green pants came over to the green spandex-wearing kid to knock him upside his head. "Lee, I thought we agree on not revealing our skills," Lee said, but Tenten. He looked at Sakura and Tenten followed his gaze to see Sasuke and Naruto. She sighed and then a new voice called, "Hey, you with the scowl." Sasuke turned to see a Hyuga with a smug look on his face. "What is your name?" Sasuke said, "Uchiha Sasuke." The Hyuga replied, "Neji Hyuga. I look forward to see you in the exams." "Lee, Tenten, let's go." The team went upstairs and soon afterwards, Team 7 followed them. As soon as they were proceeding upstairs, Lee called down to Sasuke, "Sasuke Uchiha, I challenge you to a duel." Naruto said, "Sasuke, we have no time for this." Sasuke said, "I have plenty of time to beat this freak." Naruto said, "Sasuke, never underestimate your opponent." Sasuke didn't listen and Naruto sighed, "Fine, but don't say I didn't warn you at all." Naruto left to go upstairs to see Tenten waiting for Lee. "Hello. You are Tenten, right?" Naruto asked. Tenten said, "Yes, and you are." Naruto held out his hand. "Naruto Uzumaki, nice to meet you." Tenten took his hand and gave him a firm handshake. "Do you mind if I see your swords?" Naruto smiled. "No, not at all." He unsheathed Oathkeeper and Oblivion with a ring and held out the hilt of Oblivion for her to inspect. "I have never seen a sword like this before. What is her name?" she asked curiously. The Jinchuriki replied as he took it back and gave Oathkeeper to her, "Oblivion and this one is Oathkeeper." Tenten said, "Both of them complements each other. Oathkeeper seems like a defensive weapon to protect and Oblivion seem like the offensive. Together, they are unstoppable if they are used correctly." Naruto said, "You seem to know your weapons, Tenten." Tenten said, "I have two. I plan to become a weapons specialist after all." Naruto said, "I hope to see in the exams then, Tenten." Tenten said, "As do I. Have you seen Lee?" Naruto said, "Preferably. He is probably kicking the Uchiha's ass now due to the speed he did display against those Chunin." Tenten said, "Chunin? Those were Genin." Naruto replied, "No, those were Chunin, preferably the ones that you see guard the gates." Tenten said, "How?" Naruto said, "The Henge no Jutsu." Tenten slapped her forehead, not realizing that the Chunin fooled them with a simple henge. Naruto said, "Well, we better wait for them by the doorway." Naruto and Tenten walked together to the doors leading to room 301. Kyuubi said, "She is cute. I bet she will be even cuter with those ridiculous buns on the top of her head. She reminds me of a panda or Mickey Mouse." Naruto said, "Kyuubi, is that really all you think about women?" Kyuubi said, "No, I think about booze and how many ways I will kill, maim and or torture that snake bastard when we find his slippery ass." Naruto's sweat dropped as he said, "I should have never even asked about it." He was disturbed when Tenten waved her hand in his face. "Hey, Naruto, are you okay?" she asked. Naruto said, "I am fine, I am just thinking about the exams." Tenten said, "You are nervous, aren't you?" The Jinchuriki replied, "I am a little, this is my first time taking these exams." Tenten said, "Don't worry, I am sure that you will be fine, plus if things go wrong, we will bail you out. Naruto chuckled, it is more like the other way around, Tenten. Tenten playfully shoved him. Hey, don't get cocky, I bet I could beat you with one hand behind my back. Naruto said, I guess that we have to wait and see, Tenten. The two went up to find Kakashi waiting by the door and Tenten was allowed inside. Naruto said, this wasn't individual choice, was it? Kakashi said, no, it wasn't. Where are Sasuke and Sakura? Sure enough, Sakura and a beaten Sasuke came up to them. Kakashi said, what the hell happened to you two? Sakura said, green spandex, sunset, rainbow, so much hugging. Kakashi's lone eye widened and Naruto became confused. What? Kakashi said, it seems that they met Might Guy. Naruto said, who is that? Kakashi said, you know Rock Lee. Naruto nodded and Kakashi said, picture an older version of him talking out the flames of youth. Naruto shuddered at the thought of it, but he had no idea what were the flames of youth. But it doesn't add up with Sasuke's bruises. Kakashi continued. Naruto said, I can answer that. Sasuke Tem answered a challenge to Rock Lee and got his ass kicked. Judging by Lee's speed, I think that Sasuke's body couldn't keep up with him. Sasuke sent a glare at Naruto as Kakashi said, that seems understandable, now good luck to you all. Team 7 nodded and went through the door, but Kakashi whispered to Naruto, if you get into trouble, Naruto, don't hesitate to do everything in your power to survive. Naruto said seriously, I got it. Soon Sasuke was glomped by another one of his fangirls, Ino Yamanaka of the Yamanaka clan, who specializes in jutsu that affect the aspects of the mind. Sakura began to yell at her and the two started their feud as usual. Then Team 8 came up with Kiba announcing their presence. Hey, where is Naruto at? The Inuzuka asked. Ino noticed that the blonde-haired prankster was not around them and asked, that is right, where is he? Naruto shook his head and said, I am right here, Ino. The rookies turned to see him and their mouths dropped, especially Ino's. Hinata blushed at her crush and how handsome he had gotten. Geez, I can't believe you guys didn't recognize me, well, except Shino. I can tell he knew who I was by my chakra. Naruto said as he reached behind his neck and picked out a bug on his finger. The bug flew off his finger and went straight to Shino. Naruto turned to Hinata and said, Ohio, Hinata-chan. Hinata blushed and almost fainted to the ground, but Naruto grabbed her before she hit the floor and helped her steady herself. Ino, Sakura and Kiba shouted at the same time, since when you call her Hinata-chan? Naruto said, since now, after all, she is a princess, a cute one too. Hinata blushed as she whispered, thank you. Naruto put a hand on her forehead, are you okay, Hinata-chan? You look a bit red, you don't have a fever, do you? Kyuubi warned, Kit, you are going to make her faint with all of this attention on her and I think Mud Boy just might attack you. Naruto replied, he wouldn't dare, if I find one scratch on Hinata-chan because of that, I will rip him apart. Suddenly Kyuubi started to growl and Naruto asked hesitantly, Kyuubi, what is wrong? The demonic fox answered, that silver-haired kid, he is reeking of the smell of snakes. Naruto said, really? That is not the one who placed the genjutsu on you, but he might be working for him or that lady we saw at the dango shop. Kyuubi replied, no, her smell is faint and covered with dango instead. This one is laced with it. The Jinchuriki said, calm down for now, if he shows any sign of being a spy, I will take him out in the exam. He focused on the newcomer, who introduced himself as Kabuto Yakushi. Naruto instantly searched his memory for that name and remembered that he is a medic, trained by his adoptive father, who was one of Konoha's finest. If he was a spy, he would be essential to a person who hated Konoha. Sakura asked, is this your first time, Kabuto-san? Kabuto said, "Nope, this is my 7th, but I have gotten some good information over the years." "Want to see my ninja info cards?" Sasuke asked. "Do you have information on individuals?" Kabuto said, "Why yes." The Uchiha said, "I want information on Rock Lee and Sabaku no Gaara." Hiba said, "I want information on Naruto Uzumaki." He grinned as he thought, "I bet his record is humiliating and then Hinata will go out with me." Kabuto pulled out 3 cards and said, "Rock Lee, he has completed 20D rank and 11C rank missions, his taijutsu is off the charts, but his ninjutsu and genjutsu is non-existent. Sabaku no Gaara, he has completed 14C rank and 1B rank, his abilities are unknown, but it is said that he has returned from every mission without a scratch. Lastly, Naruto Uzumaki, he has completed 24D rank and 2A rank missions." Sakura said, "Wait, that is wrong, we only did 1. Kabuto said, "Oh, you didn't know, he happened to catch a Chunin, Mizuki Tuji, from taking the scroll of sealing and killing Iruka Yumino. Anyway, he seems to know the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu and his taijutsu has improved along with his kenjutsu." Naruto said, "You seem to know a lot about that mission despite the fact that it was classified to the Hokage's eyes only. On top of that, you are Ishide Yukushi's adopted son, who is a chief medical ninja in the Anbu, who was one of Konoha's finest medics at the time. Since he is your father, he taught you everything you know, which means you are a spy." Kabuto laughed, "What makes you think so, Naruto-kun?" Naruto replied, "The fact that you failed this exam 6 times despite the fact you are an accomplished medic and the fact that you smelled a lot like snakes, a smell that is known to only one person who could possibly have the motive to destroy Konoha. Orochimaru, the snake Sannin and S-rank criminal." The place was silent until Kabuto laughed again. "You are quite the comedian, Naruto-kun. Me affiliated with Orochimaru, that is very humorous of you to think so." Naruto laughed as well. "You are right, Kabuto. To think that you caught me that fast." The rookie 9 sighed in relief, but Kabuto thought, "That boy. I am going to have to take him out when Orochimaru-sama separates them from the Uchiha." Naruto thought, "I got you, traitor." A man shouted, "Okay, Genin, pipe down and shut the hell up now. First rule, there will be no fighting whatsoever or I will have to kill you." That man was Ibiki Morino, head of the Torture and Interrogation Division. Ibiki said, "Good, now everyone will come in a single order fashion to get a paper from one of these Chunin and draw a number. The number will indicate where you will be sitting for the remainder of this part. I will explain the rules when everyone is seated." Soon all of the genin were seated down and Ibiki said, "Okay, now here are the rules. This test had a grade point system, each question is equal to 1 point. If you get 1 wrong, you lose a point. Now if you even think of cheating, you lose 2 points, which means there are chances that you will be disqualified. Now this test also depends on your teammates, your points must meet the requirement of 20 points or more. If you don't, you along with your teammates will be thrown out of the exam." Sasuke and Sakura immediately started to glare at Naruto, but the Jinchuriki smirked as he leaked killing intent and both of his teammates felt a chill running down their spines whenever they looked at Naruto. Ibiki said, "Now begin." There were a rustling of papers and Naruto looked at his paper to see that the questions were very hard to answer. Naruto thought, Ibiki gave us enough chances to cheat, why would he do that unless he wants us to cheat? Usually if you are caught cheating in the academy, you would be thrown out immediately. Now who has the answers? Naruto's eyes darted around to see Shikamaru 2 rows ahead of him, but he was sleeping on top of his test. Sakura was 3 rows to his left behind him and then he noticed that Hinata was beside him. Hinata used her Byakugan to cheat and then looked over to Shikamaru to see his paper, which was filled with the correct answers. She wrote them down quickly and deactivated it before anyone could see. Looks like I have to use Hinata-chan for my answers. Gomen, Hinata-chan, but I have to pass. Naruto looked down at his test, pretending that he was thinking and concentrated on focusing his chakra. Near the lamp where there were mirrors, Naruto used the moisture in the air to form an ice mirror and directed it to Hinata's paper. Naruto smirked and began to write the answers down quickly before anyone caught on to his scheme. He noticed that Sasuke used his Sharingan to copy the person's pencil movements, Tenten used the mirrors to help her and Lee with the answers, and Gaara used sand to blind and looked a random Genin's paper. Naruto found Hinata was glancing to her left to watch his movements, so he decided to turn his eyes on her and winked at her. Hinata blushed and turned away while doing her occasional habit of pressing her pointer fingers together. Kyuubi said, "Naruto, stop teasing the poor girl or she will die of blushing." Naruto said, "What? I just show her that I am okay." Ibiki said, "Okay, now for the 10th question, this depends on your answer with a few more rules. If you answer this question incorrectly, you and your team will automatically fail and never be able to take the exam again." Hiba shouted, "That is some bullshit, there are many genin here that were here from last year." Ibiki said, "Too bad, they were lucky enough that they didn't have me. This is my classroom and my rules are law here. Got it, puppy?" The proctor continued, "But I will be nice, if you don't want to answer this question, then you can quit and will be able to take the exam again. Now for those of you who don't want to take the 10th question, raise your hand now." Many hands rose up in the air in silence as various ninja and their teams failed due to their fear. When Naruto noticed that the room was almost empty, he started to laugh, making Ibiki look at him. "What is so funny, Uzumaki?" Ibiki asked. Naruto replied, "The fact that you fooled the idiots who left about being able to ban them from the exams. You used the fear and caused turmoil in their minds to torture themselves. No wonder. You are dubbed as the Mind Reaper, but I don't think it is going to work on us, we are smarter than that." Ibiki thought, "This kid, he is very smart to catch on," and with his words, he diffused the atmosphere I just created. The proctor said with an evil smirk, "Just for that, Uzumaki, you have just sealed this room's fate. As a result, you all passed the first part of the exam." Sakura said, What about the questions and what was the point of the 10th question?" Ibiki replied with a smirk, "You can say that the decision to stay or leave was the last question. The other 9 questions were there to test your information gathering skills. You had to cheat in order to pass, so there were 3 Chunin disguised as genin in the room with the correct answers. Those of you who cheated poorly were eliminated and the team suffered. Sometimes, information is more valuable than life itself. People risk their lives on missions and certain information can be the difference between life and death. People will do anything to acquire it." He revealed the scars in his head. "You must be vigilant if the enemy happens to capture you and endure any pain." Sasuke thought, the aftereffects of torture. A black form burst through the window, laughing at the examinees. All of the students' eyes went wide as the newly revealed kunoichi threw 2 kunai into the ceiling, pinning the black cloth that previously surrounded the kunoichi to the ceiling of the room. The figure wore a tan trench coat, a fishnet bodysuit and orange skirt. She started to speak in a demanding tone, "I am Mitarashi Anko, your second examiner for the Chunin exams. Now everyone get off your asses and follow me to training ground 44. Omake, is this your first time, Kabuto-san?" Sakura asked. Kabuto said, "No, this is my 7th time, but over the years, I have defeated some people and gained powerful cards. Want to see my Pokemon cards?" Naruto took out Oathkeeper and Oblivion to cut off Kabuto's head. Sakura yelled, "Naruto, why did you do that? He just wanted to show us his Pokemon cards." Naruto said, "You are so stupid, Sakura." Sakura said, "What?" Ino said, "Kabuto was a spy." Sakura said, What? How? The rest of the Rookie 9 said, because this is Yu-Gi-Oh! Town, Mother F. Kerr. The woman known as Anko Mitarashi looked over the genin and turned to Ibiki. You passed 26 teams, Ibiki. Are you losing your touch? Ibiki replied, you are early, Anko, and no, I am not losing my touch. It seems that we have an interesting bunch this time. Anko said, oh, well, it doesn't really matter anyway, my test will cut them in half. Now move. The genin filed out of the room to follow the lady, who seemed to be scarier than the last one. After the genin left to follow Anko to the next location, Ibiki began to pick up the papers on the desks until he came up to one with a note addressed to him. Ibiki, I would like to inform you that Kabuto Yakushi is in league with S-rank criminal Orochimaru. He seems to know a lot of classified information, including the one that was involving with the capture of traitor Mizuki Tsuji. I plan on pursuing him in the exams, or most likely he will try to find me. I need you to report this to the Hokage and have him send Anbu while I will stall Kabuto. I will use the Kyuubi's chakra as a beacon to help them find our location. Naruto Uzumaki. Ibiki immediately performed a shunshin to the Hokage's office to report this urgent matter to him. Forest of Death. This ground here, kiddies, is Training Ground 44, also known as the Forest of Death. Why is it named that? Well, you all will soon know the meaning of the name. Anko said. Naruto replied, it doesn't look like much to me. Anko looked at him and the Jinchuriki noticed the evil glint in her eye. She threw a kunai at Naruto, who deflected it with Oathkeeper in hand. Then Anko came up behind him and said, young ones like you, have a tendency to die first. She cut his cheek only for Naruto to disappear. Anko felt the cold steel of Oathkeeper against her neck as Naruto said, rule number 13, always be ready for unexpected surprises. Sasuke thought, so fast. He is almost as fast as that Lee kid. He is definitely stronger than before. Hinata thought, sugoi, Naruto-kun. Kiba growled as he thought, so what? He will never be able to beat me, he is still Adobe. Then I will take Hinata away from you and force her to have my pups after I humiliate you, showing her the flaws that you have. Anko said after Naruto stepped back and withdrew his weapon from her jugular. Well, here is the test. There is a tower in the middle of this forest. Your objective is to reach the tower with these two scrolls. She pulled out a white and black scroll, each adorned with the kanji for heaven on the white and earth on the black. The Tokubetsu Jonin continued, your team will receive one of these scrolls. Half is earth and the other receives heaven. You will have to battle each other to get the scroll that you need. The rules are that you must come to the tower within the period of 5 days. You must have your entire team with you to get into the tower. If one of your team members are dead or incapacitated, your team is disqualified. The last rule is that you must never open the scroll at all circumstances. If you do, well, let's just say that bad things will happen. Now everyone that wants to continue must sign these death waiver forms, meaning if you just so happen to die, I am not responsible for your death. We will have a 15-minute break for you to discuss with your team. The genin scattered to their teams to sign their forms. Naruto signed his instantly and began to search for Kabuto. He found him over by one of the Chunin who was giving them the scrolls. He is not backing out, which means he is going to try and kill me. His teammates might not know about his loyalty or they are in league with him, so I got to be careful. He thought to himself. Kyuubi said, just make sure you kill him. With this Kabuto character out of the way, Orochimaru can no longer heal himself since the traitor is probably his personal medic boy toy. Naruto said, Kyuubi, I appreciate it if you didn't put that mental image in my mind. That is even worse than the genjutsu that Kakashi described with Guyan Lee. Kyuubi said, good point. So the teams all went to get a scroll and Naruto got his scroll and gave Sasuke a duplicate. Something in his gut told him that giving the scroll to Sasuke was a bad idea. After all the teams got their scrolls, they approached their gates, and when Anko gave them the signal to start, they rushed through. Naruto immediately made a Kage Bunshin discreetly and sent it away. Naruto Kage Bunshin. The clone crouched on a branch to find an unsuspected AIM team. The clone smirked as he took out 2 kunai in his hand and jumped down on 2 of the AIM nin, killing them by stabbing the ninjas' necks. The last one tried to run, but he was put in a false death state with 2 Senbon before he could get any further. He searched the ninja's inventory to find a earth scroll, kunai, shuriken, blank scrolls and a summoning contract for dragons. Dragons, I think I will hold on to this. Naruto thought. He quickly stuffed it into his pouch and moved toward his original self's position. Naruto the original instantly got the nerves that somebody was coming and opened his mouth to speak until a strong wind pushed him away, leaving Sasuke and Sakura alone. He crashed into a tree a few feet away from his team to find a large snake in front of him. Orochimaru has been feeding you well, Naruto commented as he took out Oblivion. The snake hissed as it coiled back and struck at Naruto. The Jinchuriki waited and jumped at the last second onto its head, and then he took Oblivion and stabbed the snake's head. It thrashed and flipped for a few minutes until it went limp and disappeared into smoke. It seems Orochimaru is here, Naruto mused, and then he heard whistling and used his Nodashi to block the incoming shuriken. He looked up to see Kabuto and his team. I am assuming Orochimaru sent you 3 to kill me, huh? The Jinchuriki said. Kabuto said, you know too much, Naruto-kun. I can't have you interfering with Orochimaru-sama's plans. Naruto said, what, plans for the sex positions you two are going to try tonight? Enlighten me. Kabuto narrowed his eyes. His grand plan is to raise Konoha into the ground with his new army. Naruto said, you mean Oto, that country is new and hardly has any ninja. Which means that you have an ally to help Orochimaru with his plans, and it would be someone that we would least expect. Suna, our ally, since Cloud is independent, Iwa is cautious about us and AIM doesn't give a shit about us. Am I correct? Kabuto said, you are very smart, Naruto-kun. We could use you in our cause. Naruto said, sorry, I prefer to have free will, which is something that doesn't have to be in Oto. Kabuto said, please, you are a Jinchuriki. Everyone hates your guts and has beaten you since you were young. You think that there are people here that accept you? Naruto replied, yes, there are a few. If they don't like me at all, so be it. I don't give a damn about what they say, because as long as there are people that I know care about me, I will protect this village to my last breath. Kabuto said, then this is the end, Yoroi, go. Yoroi attacked Naruto, who backflipped and dodged his punch. Yoroi suddenly did hand signs and his hands were covered with chakra. Does he know medical jutsu too? Naruto thought to himself. Yoroi ran at him, trying to hit him with his chakra-infused fist, but the Jinchuriki dodged him. Finally Naruto grabbed his forearm and broke in with a single swing, and then cut off Yoroi's other arm. Yoroi screamed in pain, but Naruto silenced him by bringing his sword down on Yoroi's head. The Jinchuriki flicked off blood from Oblivion and Kyuubi shouted, Kit, behind you. Naruto turned to see Masumi behind him and caught his forearm, but the weird thing was that Masumi's arm bended around his own and Masumi caught him in a choke hold. Masumi cracked his neck and Naruto disappeared in a puff of smoke. Masumi said, what? Suddenly a sword burst from his chest and Masumi gasped in pain, how did you? Naruto said, I used Kage Bunshin earlier since I sensed you 3 watching me in case the snake didn't eat me. Then I kawari me with it when your arm twisted around mine. Goodbye, traitor. Naruto twisted the sword to make the hole bigger and Masumi died before he hit the ground. The Jinchuriki said, pointing his sword at Kabuto, it is your turn, Kabuto. Kabuto said, Please, you can't defeat me. I may be a genin, but I am on par with your sensei Kakashi in power. Naruto said. Rule number 3. Never underestimate your opponent. Kabuto did hand signs and chakra covered his hands, which Naruto took out Oathkeeper and moved into a stance. Kabuto charged at him, striking at Naruto's head, but the Jinchuriki jumped back while swinging Oathkeeper at Kabuto's face. Kabuto moved back to avoid the strike by a slim margin and retaliated with a strike on his own. His hand was able to touch Naruto's bicep and Naruto recoiled back, his arm became limp. Damn it, he cut the muscle. Kyuubi said, I am working on it, it will be up and running in 7 minutes. In the meantime, try to kill that motherfucker. Naruto thought, working on it, Kabuto's strong. Naruto used the time to dodge Kabuto's attacks with his chakra scalpels and kunai at him. Just give up, Naruto-kun. You are nothing to Orochimaru or me. Kabuto said. The Jinchuriki said, coming from the submissive one who plays doctor with his master as a lot. Orochimaru must have you on a long leash to speak of him so highly. Kabuto said, do not speak of Orochimaru-sama like that. He is a great leader. Naruto replied, sure, if he was a great leader, then why he isn't Hokage? Oh, I know, because he is a complete sociopath. I mean, sure, he was a great scientist and all, but using people for painful experiments and most of them were comrades. I rather go to Iowa than serve under his gay ass. Kabuto bristled in anger. I am warning you, Uzumaki. Naruto said, ah, you're mad, what are you going to do to me? You are nothing but a submissive bitch to Orochimaru. You actually think that he cares. Please, you are alive because of your skills and when your time runs out, he will discard you and find a new boy toy to play with. It is just that simple, Kabuto Tem. Kabuto roared, I am definitely going to enjoy carving your heart out piece by piece. Naruto felt the feeling in his arm and sheathed his swords as he called on the Kyuubi's chakra, making the demon fox's cloak surround his entire body. Come and try, snake bitch. Kabuto attacked at him while Naruto just stood there, and when Kabuto's hand entered the chakra, his hand began to burn. Kabuto tried to move back, but Naruto grabbed his hand. You fool, since you know that I am a Jinchuriki, you should also know that the Kyuubi's chakra is fatal to anybody but me. Now you die here, this is for all the people you helped Orochimaru kill, now let's see how you like your chakra network being tampered with. Naruto sent the Yuki pouring into Kabuto's system, making the medic scream in pain as the network was destroyed. Kabuto struggled, but he was in too much pain and his Aniu Shamatsu was not working fast enough to repair the damage. Kabuto passed out from the pain and Naruto let him go. Kyuubi said, we should kill him. Naruto replied, now if we do that, then we will never know where Orochimaru is at or what he plans to do at all. He is useless now and he will either have to tell us everything or be killed by Orochimaru. He made a Kage Bunshin to watch the unconscious Kabuto until the Anbu came to pick the Odo spy up. Then he saw the Kage Bunshin that had cornered the AIM ninja and asked, you got the scroll? Naturally, the clone said as he passed the dragon contract and the scroll. What the hell is a summoning contract doing here? Naruto asked himself. The clone said, I don't know, but don't question what life gives you, just go with the flow. The clone dispelled and Naruto instantly got its memories of the bout with the AIM nin. Then he strode off to find his teammates. Sasuke and Sakura the Uchiha and his fangirl were currently engaged with a tall woman hailed from Kusa. She first tried to impersonate as Naruto, but Sasuke saw that her henge was off because Oathkeeper and Oblivion were not on her back. Then she used killing intent to freeze them into place, but Sasuke stabbed himself to overcome his frozen state and was currently running away along with Sakura. The Kunoichi summoned a snake to give chase and eat them both alive. Sasuke thought, this girl, she is not a genin, She is a monster. We need to get away. The snake came closer and closer as it opened its maw only to eat a barrage of kunai and ice Senbon. No eating teammates, it is bad for your health, Naruto said with his arms crossed. Sakura shouted, Naruto, we have to get out of here before we get killed. Naruto ignored her cry and said, Orochimaru, can someday you choose a freaking gender and stick with it please? It is highly troublesome to call you a he, she or he she at different points. Orochimaru said, you are supposed to be dead. Naruto said, and yet I am not. Your subordinates were hard to beat, especially Kabuto. He was a tricky one, I had to practically make him a vegetable to defeat him. Orochimaru said, that is impossible. Naruto said, nothing is impossible when it comes to a ninja. The snake Sannin said, I am going to kill you, Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto said, no doubt you can, but you would blow your cover and the Anbu, who happen to be near our location would find you. You have two options. 1. You can retreat seeing that we can't defeat you by ourselves, or 2. You can stay here and kill us only to have dozens of Anbu on your ass. Orochimaru growled and said, how about option 3? Before Naruto could react, Orochimaru shouted, Fuden, Daitapa. The blast hit Naruto away and Orochimaru appeared behind Sasuke to bite him on the neck. Soon a symbol of 3 tones similar to the Sharingans appeared and Sasuke knelt down, screaming in pain. Orochimaru leapt away and Sakura shouted, you freak. What did you do to Sasuke-kun? The Sannin answered with an evil laugh, I gave Sasuke a farewell gift, a gift of power. With it, he will come to me and seek me out for power, power that he so craves to destroy his brother. With that, Orochimaru left by sinking slowly into the ground. Naruto burst back in to see Orochimaru's head disappear. Kyuubi said, Kit, we could have killed him when we had the chance. Naruto said, fighting Kabuto's team was hard enough and I don't have enough strength to defeat Orochimaru in my current state even with your chakra. I am sure he has a way to suppress a Jinchuriki's seal if he ever came across such a person. If that would have happened, I would have been screwed and we both would have died. I am sure that you don't want that as much as I do. Kyuubi said, you have a point, fine, Kit, I will tolerate this just this once. Naruto thought, thanks. He turned to Sakura, who was caring for a passed out Sasuke. Sakura, come on, we can't stay here. Other teams might try to come and take our scrolls. We got to move to the tower now. Sakura nodded and Naruto made a cage bunshin to carry Sasuke as the two moved toward the tower. A few hours later Naruto entered the tower with Sakura trailing behind him and Sasuke over his left shoulder. He walked towards the center of the large room, having noticed the large unwound scroll on the wall. Naruto read the words out loud as Sakura listened. If you do not have heaven, go to gain knowledge and wisdom. If you do not possess earth, go to train in the fields and gain strength. If you open both scrolls of heaven and earth, dangerous paths turn into safe ones. This is the secret of X. It will lead you on your way. Sandaime Hokage. Sakura was confused by the riddle, what does it mean? Naruto replied, I think heaven represents your mind and earth represents the body. If you are like Shikamaru, who has heaven, then he has got to train his ass off. If you are like Kiba, then you have to learn to study at the library. When you have both heaven and earth, nothing can stand in your way. We better open the scrolls now. Naruto pulled out both of the scrolls contemplatively and handed one of the scrolls to her. Naruto and Sakura opened the scrolls in unison. Glancing at the contents, Naruto's eyes widened. It was a complicated set of seals. In the center was the kanji for human, or person. Sakura came to the same conclusion as Naruto and they both threw the scrolls on the ground forming an X shape. The center of the X shape started to bulge. It burst in a puff of smoke that clouded the genin's vision. The only thing they could see was a dark silhouette in the smoke, and so Naruto and Sakura tensed. Naruto was surprised as the silhouette that appeared inside the smoke was familiar. As the smoke cleared, the two relaxed. They were relieved to see that it wasn't an enemy. In fact, it was the direct opposite of their enemy. "What are you doing here, Iruka-sensei?" Sakura asked as Naruto gave off a wide smile. Iruka was about to answer when he saw the unconscious form of Sasuke. He frowned but spoke anyway. "I'm here to congratulate you on completing the second exam. You still have a few days till the second exam ends, so you can relax in one of the unoccupied rooms until the second exam is over." Iruka disappeared as Naruto headed towards the waiting area, carrying Sasuke on his shoulder. As they got to the designated area, Naruto saw that the Sand team was there along with Team 8 and set off to a clear side with Sasuke, propping the unconscious genin against the wall a few feet away. After taking a quick inventory check, Naruto dozed off for a nap.